Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget, you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode. Welcome, everybody, to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 546. Today is the 14th of May, 2025. We have got one really cool announcement and then a couple of other smaller things, and then we will jump into answering your local SEO and business questions. First of all, though, we want to take a minute, say hello, find out where the weather is or what the weather is around the world, and then we'll get back to it. So, Chris, let's start with you. How's the weather in Austria, and what have you been up to?
Well, it's quite sunny in Austria. Had been out today on a race cycle tour. And yeah, like only took 2 hours and the rest of the day working as usually in the lab. Exciting stuff.
Very nice. Well, yeah, we had some warm weather here in central New York, and then it's cooled back down. It's kind of nice. So it was like 60 and a little bit of rain, so can't complain. I really tweaked my ankle. I thought I broke it last week. It was such a bad sprain, and then so I've been in the gym instead of out on the trail, so I don't mind, I guess, a little bit. So, Bradley, how about you? How are things there a little bit further on the East Coast or further south on the East Coast?
Stormy and rainy, and it has been for days. And it's supposed to be rainy all week, so kind of sucks, but it's all right. I got a ton of work to get caught up on, and so I'm trying to do that. So it's been crazy because I just bought that house, closed on it 2 weeks ago now, and so I've been trying to ride out to Pikeville, which is like a 45-minute drive or so, in the evenings to just start, unpacking stuff, moving, setting furniture up, all that kind of stuff. So it's just been a lot of driving and for a small amount of work because I only work for an hour or two and then I got to turn around and come back because I got a whole nother work day. You know what I mean? So it's been a little bit challenging. I've been stretched a bit thin for the last couple of weeks, and it's probably going to be another week or two before I actually can start staying at my new house. So I got to get everything set up, but it's a little bit overwhelmed at the moment, but still managing to make it. So that's all that matters.
Fair enough. Yeah, moving is always its
Sucks.
own thing. Yeah, there's no
Yep.
good way to do it. So,
Sucks.
well, what I want to tell everybody about today, we mentioned it, I think the last 2 weeks we've been talking about it, but we have launched the Local Mastery weekly newsletter. What this is, if you're not familiar with it, is a weekly paid newsletter to give you kind of the most important takeaways and really condensed takeaways from Bradley's training, his testing, the real world stuff he's going through, without the time commitment and at a extremely valuable price point. So you can find out more about that at localmastery.semanticmastery.com. Just wanted to mention that that is now available, and the first newsletter will be going out tomorrow. So highly suggest you check that out. Once you sign up, what you can expect is getting that newsletter by tomorrow. Also, if you sign up afterwards, we'll send you the last one so that you get something right away that you can chew on and dig into. But these are meant to be, things you can digest in less than 30 minutes and take action items away from and put them to work. And then, boom, next week, you're going to get some more good stuff. So we've already had a lot of people taking us up on this. Really happy about this. Looking forward to hearing what people do with it and how they're able to put this to work for themselves. Beyond that, I'll just open it up. Bradley, Chris, is there anything you want to add on to this as far as the newsletter goes?
Just that I think it's great. I kind of review parts of the newsletter and then other stuff that's going on in the mastermind in the what I call the State of Local SEO Insights series that we just started last week as well. So every Monday I'm recording a video where I'm just kind of going through what's kind of been the hot topics within the mastermind for the previous week. And so I'm using the newsletter as kind of like a bullet point to kind of discuss some of those items as well, because the newsletter is really created from the webinars that I host every Wednesday. So it just ended up being kind of the perfect resource for me to be able to review on that State of Local SEO Insights video series that we started last week. So I think it's great that, I cover everything kind of conceptually in the video. The newsletter's got more actionable items in written format that makes it super easy for people to skim through and get the action items and the concepts from that. So I think combined the two of them, the newsletter, the local SEO, State of Local SEO Insight series, are kind of great front end products or, resources really to help people in our audience to understand what it is that we provide in our training and everything else. So I think it's a great starting point for a lot of people. So I'm super excited about them as well.
Awesome. Excuse me. Well, the only other thing I wanted to mention today was DHA phase 1 will be starting up. So the round 2 or the second version, I guess, excuse me, not second version, but the second cohort for the year out of 3 will be starting in June. So just stay tuned for that. If you're not already on the Semantic Mastery email list, just head over to semanticmastery.com. You can do that there. We send out a ton of good information. Plus we get notified about stuff like that. And if you're watching this video, you're probably on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe. All right, guys. I think that's it. Let's jump into questions.
All right, let's do it. There's not a whole lot of questions today, which is good because, like I said, I got so much I'm trying to get done. Probably wrap up a few minutes early today. Of course, I always say that. We never do. So we'll see what happens. But let me grab the screen. And I say that
we can think about it.
Almost every mastermind webinar I say, guys, I got to be out of here by 5 o'clock. And then at 5:30, I'm still talking. Almost every single week, man. It's crazy. Anyway, let me grab the screen. We'll get into it. All right, so Huzaif's first question. He's got a number of them here. Like I said, we don't have a whole lot of questions today, guys. So anybody that's attending live, if you have questions, please post them. We'll go ahead and we should have plenty of time to get to that. If not, we'll wrap up early today, which is perfectly okay with me. All right. So just because I got so much going on. Okay, so Huzaif's first question says, for LOG sites, so those are local lead generation sites, what are your thoughts on making service pages on the root domain and linking to them from the location pages of the subdomain sites? This way we don't have to create the same service page content and again and again for each site. That is a good concept. It's a good idea, Huzaifa, but there is a limitation or a reason why I didn't do that. Okay, because I had thought of that too. And that is because you lose the reciprocal link from the service pages to all of the locations that service is available to, unless you want to somehow create some sort of an internal link element that is now going to list all of your subdomain sites and all of their supporting location pages on each subdomain site, all within the service page on the root domain. And you can imagine as you start to build dozens of local lead generation sites, how that could become very messy, very busy. It's not really sustainable if you're going to have dozens and dozens of sites, because let's just say you go with the template that I use in the tree service industry, which is 5 supporting location pages, right? It's per subdomain. Remember that the majority of my sites, the homepage is optimized for the county, and then there are 5 supporting location pages in addition to the homepage that are all locations that fall within or are contained within that county. So if you were to create just service pages only on the root domain that you would link to from the location pages within each subdomain site, that would work for that directional link, which would be from the subdomain up. But you would lose the link from the service page to the location pages that service is available to, unless you had internal link element block that would list the subdomain sites and their 5 supporting location pages, using the example that I'm talking about, for each subdomain site. And again, that could become very busy very quickly, especially when you have dozens and dozens of sites. So that's why I didn't do it for that way, because my goal is to expand by, creating dozens and dozens, if not hundreds and hundreds of LOG sites. And that would not have been manageable had we done it the way that you were proposing. So if you're going to keep your project very, very small, then by all means test with it, see how it performs, everything else. But as you scale by adding more and more location sites, that would become unmanageable and really not user-friendly either. So that's why we have separate location pages and service pages on each subdomain site. Okay. Next question. how long to wait before starting an email campaign with newly bought domains? I say wait at least 3 weeks. As long as you're warming them in a proper warm-up system, like Instantly, for example. There's a number of them out there. It doesn't have to be Instantly. That's just what we use. I would give it at least 3 weeks. I mean, a minimum of 2 weeks if you wanted to start emailing like 1 or 2 cold emails a day on starting week 3. But if you just wait till the start of week 3 or till after 3 weeks of warming, that's what I do, use my kind of like minimum threshold of warming. And then I will start on week 4. If I start immediately, sometimes they'll be warming for longer. But if I were trying to rush it and start doing cold emails, then I would start on week 4 with doing cold emails. And for each email account that I'm sending cold emails from, I would start with 5 emails per day for the first week. And then I would increase it to 10 emails per day the next week and 15 emails per day the next week. And all the way up until your kind of maximum threshold or sending volume, so to speak, for each sending domain. We stop right now at, I think we're doing, I think I stop at 60 emails per day per account is the most that I want to send out at any one time. If you're using workspace email accounts, then technically I think it's 2,000 emails per day that you're allowed to send from a workspace account. I don't recommend ever getting anywhere near that threshold though. I try to keep mine at like no more than 60 to 80 emails per day. Because remember, it's not just the initial cold email that you're sending out at the start of a sequence. You have to take into account any emails that are already, or contacts that are already in an email sequence, right? If you're using the template in the kind of sequence that I developed, it's 5 emails every other day across 10 days, right? So it's 1 email every other day across 10 days, which is 5 emails. Okay. And so if a contact starts into the email sequence or is added to an email sequence today, and you're sending out, let's say, 50 emails from that one account, then in 2 days, that same account is going to send another 50 emails or close to it, right? If somebody replies to the first email, then it removes them from the remaining emails in that sequence. It stops upon reply, in other words. But, very likely that the vast majority of those 50 are going to be emailed again. The 50 contacts are going to be emailed again in 2 days, right? Again, minus any of them that had replied. So let's say you got 48 new emails going out in 2 days. Well, if that same email account then is starting another batch of emails for another 50 contacts, now you can see you've just sent out 98 emails from that one email account in one day. So again, it's important to kind of just keep that into consideration when you're configuring the campaign settings and you're selecting the email accounts. You can select multiple email accounts to be sending from for that one campaign. So that's what I do. So I'll add like multiple email accounts at one time to a campaign. Let me just demonstrate this really quickly since we have the time. I'll just show you. So if we go in here, you'll see we've got a 73% open rate, guys. You think this works? This process that I've been preaching about now for several years. You think this works, guys? Sent out an email to 321 contacts. 233 of them have opened my email sequence. And we had 15 replies so far. You understand? So, I mean, this absolutely works, guys. But anyways, let's go in here and take a look at the options. This is what I'm talking about. Now my screen's shrunk down so I could make room for the chat box. But when it says accounts to use, you see this one, we're sending out 5 email accounts and we're doing a total of 75 emails per day, new contacts per day across 5 email accounts. Do the math. That's 15 emails per day per account. That's why we're doing it that way. So I'm sending out 75 emails a day for this particular sequence or campaign. And again, it's across 5 emails. So it's 15 emails per day, new contacts per day. Because you also have to take into consideration if you're warming, how many warm-up emails are being sent per day for that. Do you understand? Because that's also included in your sending volume, right? So if you're sending out, 50 emails a day, you need to consider that too, like as in warming emails or 30 emails per day or whatever it is. You have to consider that as well. So I would never want to really do any more than 100 emails per day per account. And that includes warming emails, like initial contact emails and follow-up emails that are part of a sequence. And that's just, again, just to keep the thresholds very low. Guys, look at my email health scores. You understand? Like, I've been emailing from a few of these domains for over an entire year now. And my health score is still, I've never had one of my, since I started using Instantly, warming everything up properly before starting any cold email campaigns, and then keeping my email volume low by just spreading out a higher contact rate across more email accounts. And by keeping all of that, the thresholds very low, I've been able to keep all of my emails healthy. I have not had a single email account drop below a 96% health score. And whenever I see anything get below 98%, so at 97%, then I will pause that email account or remove it from any cold sending campaigns and just leave it in warm up only for a period of a few weeks, and then come back and add it until the health score goes back up again. And then I will start to use it again. But I've only had a few times in the last year where I've dropped below 97%, or excuse me, 98%. And the lowest I got to was 96%. And I've been able to recover every one of those accounts by just removing them from the cold email campaigns, letting them warm up for a couple of additional weeks until the health score goes back up. And then I plug them back into an email sequence again, and boom, start emailing from them again. So I've not burned a domain in over a year, knock on wood, right? Like, seriously, it's a good thing. I've not burned a single domain in over a year because of my keeping my volume low enough. And I'd rather do that, keep the, again, I got a number of domains in here. Not all of them are for Tree Care HQ, but most of them are. And again, it's just having a number of domains. You can have multiple campaigns running, keep the volumes low per sending domain, and it keeps your health score up, which means it'll prevent you from having to go through the hassle of creating another workspace account, doing all the integrations, allowing it to warm up before you can start sending again. You get too aggressive, you'll burn your domains, and then you end up making more work for yourself. Okay. Next one. When cleaning up leads for cold emailing, do you remove companies whose emails are invalid or could not be found at all? Yes, unless you are planning on doing some other sort of outreach method like cold calling, voicemail drops, or ringless voicemail, or SMS campaigns. But you got to be careful with SMS campaigns because you can get fined for that shit now. And then also, or you could do contact form submissions, right? If they don't have an email address, but they have a website, which, it's kind of rare. Typically, if they have an email or a website, they're going to have an email address too, but not always. But what I'm saying is during the filtering and cleaning process of the outscraper list or whatever list format, scraper you're using, because all we do is cold email, I just eliminate any of them that don't have email addresses or that are invalid or bounce or, any undeliverable email addresses, any of that, because all we're doing is cold email. But if you wanted to, you could keep those that have phone numbers only without an email address or a website, or might have a website but no email, but also does have a phone number. You could, in any case, if they don't have an email address, you can keep them and you can set up a voicemail drop campaign. I used to have workflows for that, but I tested with that for the tree service industry. The problem with voicemail drops or cold ringless voicemail is that with tree guys typically will call a missed call, a missed call, like they'll call the phone number from the missed call back without listening to the voicemail. And it's because, again, most tree guys have the phone from their Google business profile and their website, etc. The phone number, it goes directly to them. Like, they're the ones answering the phone all the time. And so that's part of the reason why I also sell answering services to tree contractors, because answering services are highly valuable to those guys. So anyways, a lot of tree guys are just used to, because they're busy either running equipment or managing their crews, or they're literally up in a tree, climbing a tree or something like that. Or driving or whatever, they don't answer the phone when a phone comes in. And so a lot of them are in the habit, or have developed a habit, of just calling any missed calls. And so I tested with voicemail drops for months, and the problem was that the majority of, because for those of you that don't know how voice drops work, or ringless voicemail works, is at least the way that it worked in high level, which, again, it's been a couple of years since I've tested with this, and I'm getting to the point as to why it didn't work and why I stopped testing it with tree service guys. In other industries, it may very well work well, but with tree services, they typically won't answer the phone because they're busy, but they would just call the missed phone number back, which would then go to me, right? Or to a voicemail if I set, which I tested with. Originally, the phone call would come to me. And then there would be this awkward conversation because the voicemail conveyed the message that I wanted to tell them. Like, hey, this is Bradley Benner with Tree Care HQ. I'm contacting you to try to confirm your company contact information for your free listing on the treecarehq.com directory. We have some information that we found online about your company, but we're not sure it's fully accurate. We'd really like to confirm that this is correct. Whatever the call to action was, go check out your listing, or go to, and it was a redirect domain or whatever that was easy to remember. So I would say, like, go to here and book a call or whatever it was that I said in the voicemail drop. But they wouldn't hear the message because the vast majority of them would just call the missed phone number. And so there would be this awkward conversation when I would answer the phone, because I would get some random call from a tree contractor who was thinking that I was looking for an estimate, right? Because they just missed a call. So they would be like, hey, this is a tree company. Like, how can I help you today? Right. And so it would be this really awkward kind of like, oh, no, did you get the voicemail I left you? No, I'm sorry. I just saw the phone. I missed a call and I called it back. And then it would be like, oh, well, I was trying to tell you, blah, blah, blah. It was very strange. And by the way, I don't like to answer unscheduled calls. I don't take unscheduled calls anymore at all, period. If the phone rings, and even if it's from somebody I know, most of the time, like if it's a business related type of phone call, the majority of the time, if I even see a call coming in from somebody that I know, like, and trust in the business community, if it's unscheduled, I don't take it, because that interrupts my workflow. And by the way, think about cold calling business owners, guys. By the way, doesn't that interrupt their workflow too? That's precisely why I've always hated cold calling. Like, no kidding, because I hate cold calls myself. So I don't answer cold calls. I don't even answer calls from contacts unless it's scheduled. Personal contacts, that's one thing. But business contacts, typically I will, send them a message right after missing a call and let them know, hey, listen, I'm scheduled for other things right now. If you want to have a conversation with me, let's set a time, right? And then we'll work out a time. So anyway, the whole point was with the tree service stuff with ringless voicemail. The way that High Level worked was it would call the phone number, the contact's phone number, and then when the voicemail would pick up, or while the phone was ringing from the first call, the High Level would send a second call right immediately. So in other words, it would do 2 back-to-back dials to the same phone number. The first one was to get the phone ringing, and the second one was because the phone was already receiving a call in progress, the second call would go straight to voicemail. And that's where the voicemail, the MP3 that we would upload to High Level, would then be played into the voicemail so that it would, insert the recording into the voicemail. And so again, the vast majority of tree contractors would see the missed call and then call me back. And it would be this very awkward transition. Not only that, but it would interrupt my workflow. So I then eventually said, okay, I'm not going to answer these calls anymore. So then what I did was I created a voicemail message. So, and then I would set the timeout for the call to go to voicemail essentially for 10 seconds or something like that. And so that it wouldn't go directly to voicemail, but it would ring 1 or 2 times. Then it would go to voicemail. And then I had an automation set up in High Level to where it would look for a call on the phone number that was used to send the voicemail drop. And if that contact was in a campaign, so if an inbound call was received on that number, it would check to see, was that phone number that the inbound call was being, coming in from. So the caller's phone number, if that was part of a campaign, then it would recognize that number as being part of another workflow, and then it would send an automated email message and a text message, SMS, that would say, hey, this is Bradley. I'm sorry for Tree Care HQ. I'm sorry I missed your call. I just left you a voicemail for you to go listen to, and then follow back up with me after you've had a chance to listen to it. So I tried a number of things to try to overcome the issue that I've just described to you guys, and none of them really worked all that well for me in the tree service industry. But that's not to say that it won't work for other industries, guys. So play with it, test with it, guys. Every one of the industries, each industry that you guys are working in is going to have different nuances that can be, modified and manipulated or whatever to produce results. And so what I would say is if you plan on doing voicemail drops, then or cold calling, which I don't recommend doing cold calling at all. Again, it pisses me off when people cold call me. So imagine what it does to other. And by the way, I've done cold calling in the past to tree guys, and they get really angry about it too because they, it just takes them away from their doing work as well as prevents them from being available for a customer to actually call. So, but if you want to try voicemail drops, you can. The other thing is contact form submissions. Let me pause the screen for a minute. I just ran across a service. They sent me a cold email about it. And I said, okay, I'll bite. I'll give it a shot. I want to show you guys. Just give me a minute. We'll get into let's see, am I in the right one? Let me for what I'll show you the email that they sent me right here. Okay, so this came in from our Semantic SEO website contact form. Okay, just 1 day ago it came in. And so this came in from the Semantic SEO contact form on the semanticseo.pro website. Okay, this guy's name is Ian. Hi, I'm Ian. I'm excited to present an innovative solution for boosting business outreach. Our method removes the need for collecting email addresses or investing in email verification tools. With a 50% open rate, 35% conversion rate, and 100% inbox placement, contact form outreach ensures optimal visibility. Now, some of you guys may be familiar with Chase Reiner. Chase Reiner teaches how to go out, set up a GSA, set up a server, a VPS. You install GSA and contact form submitter. Okay, so you buy GSA license and the contact form submitter add-on or plugin or whatever it's called. And then you set it up on a VPS and you go out and you scrape contact lists for whatever industry you want to contact. And then you plug all that shit into GSA contact form scraper or the contact form submitter or whatever from GSA, which you can go in and set filters and all that kind of stuff so that you can try to get only contact forms from websites in the industries that you want to send outreach to. I went through that process. I hired Chase to even set all that up for me months ago, probably a year ago now. So I paid him like, I don't know, $500, and then I paid for the services like the VPS and the GSA and the licenses and everything. And he set everything up for me, and then I never ran it. And I paid for the VPS for months, and I just never ran it because I never took the time to go through the process of learning how to set up and do the GSA scraping and everything else. It's a lot of manual work, so I never did it. So eventually I ended up just canceling the VPS and everything else. I still have the licenses that I paid for, but I just never ended up using it. So when I saw this one come through, this email come through, which is a contact form submission service, I was like, well, you know what? Since I had invested money in setting up the system and the infrastructure to do it, but then I never did it, I want to at least give it a shot, see if it works. And so I went ahead and did it. Now, the caveat here is and this is the service here, and I spent, they require a minimum outreach of 10,000 contacts, and they charge 4 cents per contact. So do the math. That's $400. So that's what I just purchased. I just purchased it today. But so it's 4 cents per business contacted. But they have a 10,000 contact minimum requirement. So it comes out to be $400 to start with as the kind of entry point, so to speak. But anyways, that's what I did. I just went ahead and so it's called smartblast.co. Guys, I have no experience whether this is going to be valuable or not. I said I'll give it a shot. I'll roll the dice. To me, $400 is worth a test. If I get 4 tree service contractor clients out of it, then it will pay for itself. At least it's a test, right? Because I charge $99 a month for the service that I'm pitching, which is the reviews generation and management service for Tree Care HQ. That's what I'm pitching in this contact form submission. All right, so hopefully that's clear. Let me put this in chat for you guys. Smartglass.co. So anyway, hopefully that's clear. So that's something else you could do is you could always try to do contact form submissions to those that don't have emails but have websites, right? You could set up a system that does it for you, or like again, GSA contact form submitter or whatever it is, or scraper, whatever the hell it is. It's an add-on. Just search for it. You'll know what I'm talking about. You could set all that up yourself as well. Okay. Short answer was no. I only use the ones that have email addresses that are verifiable, valid email addresses. I eliminate everything else. As I've said, is it okay to do cold email with multiple inboxes? of the same domain. Yeah, but remember, it's the domain health that matters. So if you are sending multiple emails out, or if you're sending emails from one domain, but just different accounts, different email accounts on the same domain, you're still kind of you're still adding to the overall domain limitations, or whatever the sending limitations. So just keep that in mind. I mean, I've not tested with that. I know you can do it, because I know that some people do. I think even HyperKey, which is the company that does cold emailing and appointment setting for Semantic Links, my white label link building agency, I think they do 2 email accounts per sending domain. I might be incorrect about this, but I seem to remember having a chat with Atishay, the guy who runs that company, because we have a meeting once a month, the first Wednesday of every month. And I believe that he says he does 2 emails per sending domain. So 2 email accounts per sending domain. I only do 1, but you can test with it if you'd like. But just keep in mind that, remember, it's the domain health that matters, not the specific email address. So if you burn a domain, you're going to burn all of those accounts. And the more accounts you have on one sending domain, the more likely it is to burn the domain. So just keep that in mind. Is it okay if we don't include an unsub link in the cold email? I would include the unsub link in the cold email. Again, that's part of the instantly setup, right? Go into configurations, and it inboxes better. If you don't include a unsubscribe link, it lowers deliverability. So why would you not want to include an unsubscribe link, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. Right? Put it in there. It's going to help it to perform better. Right here. Insert unsubscribe link in header. Now, I do it in 2 places. I have a actual unsubscribe link that's placed in the content body of the email in the very bottom, right? A handful of empty lines or line breaks between the signature line and the unsubscribe line. But then I also have the one that's in the email header. So I'm sure you guys have seen it when you go to Gmail and you click on the email sender to reveal like the sending information and the recipient information and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you'll see an unsubscribe button right inside that little drop down when you look at the email sender information in Gmail, right? Sometimes you'll see that unsubscribe link is available there. I think I've seen it in Yahoo a few times too, not as much as I do in Gmail, but that's the unsubscribe link header. So I have it actually in 2 locations. The actual email. So let's go into the campaign and look at, again, one of these sequences. That's down here, right? Don't care or don't want to be listed, unsubscribe, right? Don't care or want, yeah. So I might have the same one in every one. In my nurture sequences, I use different kind of things like, I say things different. The unsubscribed the language or the text in around the unsubscribe link is different in my my nurture sequences for like pitching services. But this one just says unsubscribe, and then it's also in the email header as well. It just improves deliverability. So why would you not include it? Okay. Not only that, but if they don't want to be bothered anymore, let them unsubscribe. Because if you don't let them unsubscribe or make it easy for them to unsubscribe, and you keep sending emails to them, what's likely going to happen? They're going to mark it as spam. And then you're going to end up lowering the domain quality or whatever, the domain health, and it's going to affect your cold emailing campaigns. So just leave the unsubscribe link there. Next one, Alex says, hey, Bradley, should we no follow social media links and other brand assets on the LLG sites to contain the link equity? None of that matters anymore. It doesn't matter anymore at all. It used to. From what I understand, though, Google changed a few years ago now the way that they treat links, in that link equity splits inbound link equity that is flowing into a page. This, from what I understand, I learned this from Kristen, whatever her name is, the lady that runs this, the Russian chick that runs this, just go to a website first and I'll show you what I mean. Marketing Syrup. This lady who runs this, her name's Kristen something. That's her right there. Kristen something or another, right there. Christina Zarenko or whatever. She runs this company, Marketing Syrup, and she's got some really good on-page. She's got a great technical SEO training course, And that's actually where I learned that from, was from her, was that it's a really good course, actually. And I went through it probably a year and a half ago now, maybe even 2 years ago now, but that's where I first learned it at least from her. Now, again, I'm assuming this is correct. I never researched it to confirm it, but it made sense to me. So I took it and kind of adopted that into my own process now, which is when link equity is flowing into a page, it used to be that the link equity would only flow to do follow links, any links that did not have the no follow tag or attribute, added to the link itself, right? So if it was designated as no follow, no link equity would pass, and therefore, whatever link equity was flowing into the page would then only flow through the links that were follow links. In other words, that, from what I understand, it's no longer the case. Now, link equity that is flowing into a page is equally split across all of the outbound links, regardless of whether they're follow or no follow. The difference is, if they're no follow, the link equity does not actually pass through the link. If they're do follow, it does. But each do follow link is only going to get the link equity based upon how many outbound links there are. So whatever the link equity value is, let's say the value is 10 and there's 5 inbound or 5 outbound links, right? So each outbound link would receive 2 points of link equity. But if 3 of them were do follow and 2 of them were no follow, that doesn't mean that the 3 do follow links get 3.33 link equity points and the no follow links get none. It's the 3 do follow links still each only get 2 points of link equity. And then there's basically 2 points of link equity for each no follow link that just vanishes into the ether, right? It just becomes it just is no longer relevant or valid or whatever. That's what I understand, and it makes sense for Google to have done that. So that's why I don't bother with link sculpting anymore either. I used to do that. I used to spend a lot of time no following internal links between. So like when linking from one silo to another, if they weren't, related, then I would no follow internal links as well, because I didn't want to bleed the theme from one silo to another. I don't bother with any of that anymore. Just leave them all as follow links. The only thing that I do is on my directory site, I do no follow outbound links there, because I don't want to benefit any companies other than with link equity from my site, other than those that are paying me. So that's why only paid listings have follow links on my directory. Everything else is no follow. But that's not really a link sculpting thing. That was just a thing to prevent link equity from being passed to companies that aren't paying me. If that makes sense. Okay. All right, moving on. Joe says, do you also audit for answer engine optimization? Not yet, although that is something I'm trying to develop a process for. So I don't audit for that yet, but I am working on some things to try to manipulate that first. And then if I can do it consistently, then I will work on figuring out that the next step after figuring out if I can manipulate AI answer engines and language models consistently, then the next step will be figuring out how to audit for that. We talked about this in the meeting last week. This is a pretty cool tool, noatoa.com. You can check this out. This is it's still kind of early. We did on our mastermind webinar last week. We brought Jeremy Nolteman on from Press Advantage because he was just attending the webinar anyways, and I brought this up, Noatoa, and because I had recently discovered it and played with it a little bit, and he actually had a call. Jeremy had a call with the owner and developer of this service, and so he said, "Hey, I've had a call with him just in the last couple of days. If you'd like, I can come on and talk about it." So I brought him onto the webinar and we had a chat about it. So there's some pretty interesting things in here that we covered last week in the mastermind webinar. But this is like an interesting service that kind of can track how brands and things like that are being represented in different language models, and it creates kind of a almost like a rank tracker for AI answers and things like that, large language models, etc. So you can check it out, Noatoa. I think it gives you you can sign up for a free account. It's not cheap to unlock a lot of the other language models and stuff. You have to pay, and it's not cheap. But I think things like these are going to become more important as Google continues to lose market share. Do you have a checklist as a review or tool that helps me to improve AEO and highlights of what is missing and how to improve my sites? No, not yet. It's still too early. I've not done enough testing. I don't have any consistency there yet. So I'm not going to develop stuff that I can't prove is consistent or going to provide consistent results. So no, not yet. Tony says, hey, Bradley, how important is authentic content right now? I see everyone is just generating text via AI and polishing it a bit. Very few pages actually still have their own authentic style content. And I miss those days when I got hooked on a good article. I haven't seen this in a while, so I guess this is no longer important. No, actually, it is. In my opinion, it's very important. And again, this is funny because we just talked about this last week on the Mastermind webinar. We were talking about Noatoa, and we were talking about, you know, the importance of publishing a lot of content, branded content, because the large language models when large language models want to satisfy the user, like they desire to satisfy the user. So when a user queries a language model or a chat and asks to provide information and answer about something or another, the language models will provide authoritative and convincing answers even if it's completely fabricated. And it's because they are trying to please the user as opposed to just being honest and saying, we don't have enough information to provide a proper or an accurate answer for that. That's what they should do, but they don't. Instead, they just provide these bullshit answers that they fabricate in a very authoritative and convincing way. And so a lot of people don't even fact check this stuff. I know I've probably been a victim of that myself without even recognizing it, especially in the early chat usage days. Now I understand that there's a lot of hallucinations and fabricated facts and things like that. So I tend to be a little bit more vigilant about confirming and verifying, validating stuff that the language models produce. But what I'm saying is, so we had a big discussion about this last week in the same webinar that I was just talking about. We were talking about Noatoa and publishing branded content across multiple platforms because different language models ingest content from different platforms. So publishing content consistently that paints your client's companies in a favorable manner or a favorable light, so to speak, and then publishing that content out across many, many different platforms is possible because you don't know which language models ingest content from which platforms. That gives you a greater chance of being able to manipulate those answers or to have content available for the language models to then develop or create answers from instead of just fabricating stuff, right? All of this stuff is important. So as I was talking about in the webinar last week is, I spent a lot of time through the rank bridge process that I've been learning from Peter Drew, which is again, how to manipulate language models and AI answer engines. It's a very tedious process that Peter's got, but I've been working through it, albeit slowly, but working through it for the last many weeks now. And what it does is it tells you to go out and create a bunch of assets that you're going to be publishing content to. Then you publish a shit ton of content. But the content, before you publish any content, you train a chat model, right? You train whatever. I'm using X Grok. I prefer Grok over any of them personally. I just like using it. So I've been using Grok for this, but you go in and whatever language model or AI chat you want to use, you want to select one of them, and you want to train a chat and train it to on in your voice or in the company's voice that you're providing the services to. So like in your client's company's voice, right? And so how do we do that? Well, for me, what I did with and let me just see if I can demonstrate this. I'll pause the screen for a minute. I can give you guys an example of this really quickly. I can show you, let me see. I'm trying to think of which way I want to show you guys this. Take a look at. Give me 1 second. History. Here we go. Okay. So here we go. This is it. I'll show you exactly what I've been doing in RankBridge, the training from Peter Drew about this. So you guys can see what I'm talking about. So All right, so this says, just kind of a quick rundown, guys. Like, so it says, I am creating a new project using RankBridge, and I will be using my tree service directory, treecarehq.com, as a case study. Here's a description of what we do at TreeCareHQ. So I'm getting to a point here, and that is you can take content from a company, one of your clients that you're working with, right? If they have been producing content, then you can take content from them and feed it into a chat, and you can tell the chat, you are a world-class copywriter that specializes in writing copy to promote, tree care services for tree care companies that serve their local markets, right? Um, Here is some content that you can review or ingest or whatever that is in the company's voice. And you're basically creating a persona with a chat, an AI chat, that is going to then write copy, right, or produce content in the voice that you have fed into it based upon the examples that you fed into the chat, right? So I got a description about what Tree Care HQ does, right? And then I say, I asked about 10 terms that I can choose from for like in question format about, how so that I can start developing the voice and the tone and everything based around questions and all of that. Then it says I'm setting the next question is what qualifications, certifications, awards does the business or individual hold, etc. So then I talk about, there's I just go through this prompt chaining process, which is all kept into one chat. Then you save the chat. And then once you've trained it, now you can produce. Let me give you another example just really quickly, because that one's specifically about pitching marketing services to tree care contractors. But I do want to show you another one that's, I think, it's a little bit more condensed. It's not quite as long. I've been working on this RankBridge prompt chain for weeks. Because it's that tedious. There's a lot to do. But let me show you the DHA services copywriting. This is one that I just did fairly recently because of the like nurture sequences for selling DHA services. And so here's an example. By the way, I always start with I need some prompt writing help. I found that all I got to do is tell them what it is that I want to do. And then they will actually, the language model will produce the prompt for me in a way that is going to work a hell of a lot better than if I just try to write it myself. So that's what I did. Prompt for a persuasive email sequence with 5 emails. So then it says, okay, here's the overview, the strategy overview. And I wanted a PAS framework, problem, agitate, solution framework with 5 emails in the sequence. That's what I asked it to do, and it did. So it's giving me email 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which problem, agitate, solution, hook, sense of urgency or whatever, all of that. And then I say, okay, here's the context. The email sequence will be sent to a contact, a local tree service company owner that attended a discovery call where I addressed some issues found that are preventing them from getting as many job leads from Google search as they could be. My company, TreeCare HQ, provides 3 low-cost front-end services. Now it's 4. We added a 4th one that can start to improve the client's presence in local search. And I referenced those 3 services. I need a persuasive email sequence for each of these 3 services offered. Let's start with the sequence for the lead generation websites. That's the LLG websites. So there it is. Boom. Here we go. These are the prompts. Those aren't the emails. These are the prompts specifically to write the email sequence for that first service offering, right? So then, hold on, I'm getting to a point because we still haven't got to my voice yet, have we? No, right now we're just getting the prompts together. Okay, we're giving it some context. We're asking it to write the prompts, but we have not added my voice or my tone to it yet, my personality to it yet. That's coming. All right, so then it says, these are great, thanks. Please proceed with the prompts for the next service, Google Business SEO. So then we get 5 prompts for Google Business SEO. These are great, thanks. Let's proceed with the next one, review management. So there's our 5 prompts for the review management sequence. So then I say, okay, I will now ask you to draft these emails. We will do this one at a time so I can review each and make adjustments to the copy or to the prompt to fine-tune them to my liking. So here's the author context, right? Author context and author voice. And this is what you guys can do for your clients if they have any content that they've produced. Or find an authority or subject matter expert in the industry that you're working in and go extract a bunch of content that they've produced and feed it in and just state this is the style and the tone that I want to use for this company, right? It doesn't have to be content in the specific company's tone or voice or whatever. If they have content with their own kind of unique style and everything else, by all means, yes, you want to feed it in. That way the AI can generate content that is very similar and it sounds like it came from them. But if they don't have that, which a lot of local businesses don't, because they don't spend a lot of time writing copy for their website and everything else, then you can go find a subject matter expert and copy, successful marketers in that industry and find content that they've produced that you and the client like, and then feed that into the chat and say, use this as your exam to model your tone after, so to speak. Right. So it says, I will now ask you to draft these emails. Well, excuse me, I already said that. Author context. Below are some resources that you can use to develop the author voice for writing these emails with Bradley Benner's tone. That's me. I'm a local marketing and SEO professional, blah, blah, blah. A little bit of history. And then I've got professional biography, which I have available for when I go on podcast interviews. They always ask for that. So that's just a G-Doc. There's videos from my YouTube channel, right? There's podcast interviews that I've been on. So I fed a few of those into there. Again, YouTube videos, and in the author voice. You are Bradley Benner, a digital marketing professional that specializes in helping tree care companies grow through low cost yet effective marketing lead generation services and by installing systems into his clients' operations, thus helping their company to be more efficient, easier to manage, and promotes revenue growth. Right. So it's just, again, I just go through this kind of feeding it information so that then now Grok can act as me and draft things in my voice. And I've talked about this before. These emails came out way better than I could have ever done it myself. No kidding. Because I have a problem in whenever I write, I cannot write in the informal tone that I speak in. For some reason, I find it impossible to write in an informal tone. I can't do it. It just bothers me. So I always write a hell of a lot more formally than I speak, if that makes sense. And so, but after going through this exercise one time, I realized that this is the only way I should ever be writing copy anymore, because now this copy is now written in my tone as if I were speaking to these tree guys. But had I written these emails, they would have been a lot more formal, just to be clear. And so by the time I got done with this, I was like, man, this is really good, because these actually sound more like they came from me than if they actually came from me, because when I write, I polish them a lot more, if that's clear. So to answer the question, is authentic content important right now? Yes, I think so, because not only do I think Google is looking for, patterns in AI generated content, with the syntax, all of that kind of stuff. I think Google is becoming better at being able to detect that stuff. I still don't think it really matters a whole lot whether it's detected as AI content or not, as long as it's helpful. Again, I don't think that's super, super important just yet. But I think Google is getting better at determining that and will reward content, if not yet, will be at some point in the near future. Will be rewarding content that has its own unique style or tone, so to speak. But you can develop that style into the AI chat so that you can still have the AI produce the content just with that unique or specific style and tone. Okay. And it's worth it, guys, because you see like that, guys, this has been trained. So as a matter of fact, I just used it again today. Let me show you. Where did I use it today? Yeah, sorry, right here. Okay. Remember, guys, earlier on the call, and look, we're going to make it to 5 p.m. after all. Always do. I was just talking about using this contact form service, right? This one right here. I purchased this today. And so I start your campaign. Right here's where I put my name, company name, phone number, email. Then it says continue to campaign details. See, it's already got my information here. Let me just show you really quickly. So I want to demonstrate this right there. Okay. Do it again. Okay, right here. Types of businesses to target, tree service companies, geography to target, United States. And in my message copy. So what did I do? I went straight to this exact same chat where I fed all of that information in. This is now where I create all of my marketing copy for Tree Care HQ services, right? Because I went through the process of feeding this chat all of this stuff. And so I came here today and I said, this was just earlier today. I will now be sending tree care companies a pitch for the reviews management service via contact forms on their websites. This should be one message, not a sequence. Since this is a cold contact and will be done via contact forms, the copywriting should be succinct and contain a strong and compelling call to action to contact me, Bradley Benner, for more information. Please draft 3 separate messages to accomplish this. Here we go. Boom. Take a look. I ended up using version 3. Hey, company name. Weak Google reviews are pushing tree jobs to your competitors. I'm Bradley Benner with Tree Care HQ, helping tree services like yours stack 5 stars since 2014. Fact, 90% of homeowners check reviews before calling. No reviews or bad ones means they're dialing someone else. Our review management service is low cost, and I put $99 in parentheses there. Easy and gets you more 5 stars fast, boosting your ranks and calls, I put boosting your online exposure and calls in your town or your area. We manage it all. We manage it all. You just see the jobs roll in. Don't let a quiet profile cost you another season. And I think I changed that to say, don't let a low reviewed profile or something like that. And it says reply or call me at, and I said reply or text me at, because I don't take cold calls. So I said reply or text me at, and I put my phone number to get the details and start winning more work. Act now. Every missed review is a missed job. Then my phone number, and I put my name, and then I put my email address. So again, just pointing that out, like I use this specifically today to then draft a contact message that would be submitted via contact forms. So do I think it's important? I do. I think it's really important, because not only that, but if the content, like you just mentioned, Tony, you said, I miss the days when I got hooked on a good article. Yeah, and that's what tone can do. Tone and style can take a boring topic and add and make it more exciting, more engaging, right? And so I think it's important, right, to, even if the companies or your clients don't have any content or their own kind of unique style and voice, et cetera, which many of them do not, especially local businesses, go find marketers and copywriters in the industry that are doing well, and feed their content in and say, now I want you to model this tone and style in the copy that you write for this campaign. Okay. Roberta, Adam, did you answer this question? Where we can download the free newsletter? Did you put that in chat or anything? I'm not sure where they get that.
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay, well, if you could put that in chat. And by the way, for my own benefit, because I don't know, how do people get the free newsletter?
Yeah, you just go to semanticmastery.com, sign up. There's a bunch of places you can do it, and go from there. Or if you want to get something for free, you can go to gmbprocess.com and grab the GBP checklist that Bradley created, and get everything that way.
Okay, so as long as they opt in to pretty much any one of our lead magnets or opt-in forms anywhere that they are on the web, they're basically going to be added to the free newsletter, correct?
Yep. And then we'll be following up and go from there.
Tony says, can you do a webinar with Peter about this? Yeah, we plan on it. I was waiting to do the webinar until I've been through the entire process once, and it's very, very tedious, to be honest with you. And it's because I don't like to do webinars for stuff that I don't haven't experienced and kind of proven out myself first. I like Peter's process, but I've not fully got through the entire process, not even once yet, because it's so long. I'm developing an SOP for it too, because I don't want to do it. I'm going to have to do it at least twice. The first time I always develop an SOP, a kind of a crude SOP as I'm going through the process the first time. Then I have to go through the process the second time to polish the SOP. In other words, to add more detail to it. So I've got to do it twice. Once I get through it the first time with Tree Care HQ, then I'm going to do it a second time for Semantic Mastery. And that's when I'll, add a lot more detail to the SOP. And that's why it's taken me so damn long. I have limited time to begin with, and then it's very tedious already. But then to add in the SOP development while I'm working through this process, is taking forever. So I think Peter's actually reached out to me on Facebook. By the way, guys, Facebook is not how to contact me. Contact me on email or get my phone number and send me a text message. Like, I hate Facebook. If anybody tries to contact me on Facebook and I ignore you, it's not because I'm mad at you specifically. It's just because I hate Facebook. I don't want to be contacted on Facebook. So, and Peter and I usually communicate through Facebook. But anyways, I think he sent me a message saying we're going to do a webinar with him at some point. I'm behind in getting through this process, which is why we haven't scheduled one with him already. I may have a chat with him, though, and just go ahead and schedule it, as long as I disclaim right up front to everybody on the webinar in our audience, like, hey, I've not fully been through the process. I believe the process works. I'm going through it, but I've not fully been through it yet. So we may end up doing that just because I don't want to be the bottleneck. So it's coming. Let's just put it down. All right. Anything that I need to comment on? Good.
Yeah, I was just looking over there. We got a couple. I didn't hear if you answered the one question from Semantic Webmaster, and then Wayne Clayton said hi. What's up,
Hey,
Wayne?
what's up, Wayne? What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. You should have Wayne come on as a Hump
Woo.
Day Hangout guest just to check on him, see how he's doing. If he wants,
Yeah, Wayne, ping us,
just
man.
yeah, it'd be awesome, man. Wayne's a long time semantic mastery, um, colleague or whatever, so to say, so to speak. Okay, semantic webmaster. Which domain do you use for custom tracking domain for the unsub link? Um, just use your primary domain. I use treecarehq.com. I'm not sure I understand the question. Go into high level, so you custom tracking. Oh, you mean an instantly? And instantly, I believe we're just using the if that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about an instantly, I think I'm just using the default one. I think that's what you were asking. So let me go back and take a look. It's going to be under settings. Can't remember where that is. Can't remember what that is because it's been a while since I set this up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm just using the default domain in here. In high level, I've got it set up using my tree carriage cube, my custom domain. So that's what I was getting into high level to show you. But I can't I forget it's been, I set up instantly over a year ago, guys. I haven't really configured, messed with the settings since then. So I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is what I was showing in high level. So in high level, I've got go.treecarehq.com. So my unsub links, if we go to, sorry, let me pause the screen for a minute, go to sites, or excuse me, marketing, trigger links. Yeah, so I created another subdomain for this one specifically, unsub.treecarehq.com. So I use for in high level, the tracking, the subdomain that I use for unsubscribe links is on unsub.treecarehq.com. Hopefully that's clear. Um, and instantly, like I said, I think we're just using the default. I don't do custom. I'm not doing link click tracking in instantly. So there's no reason to use my own domain for this. Do you understand that, guys? We don't put links in the cold email out sequence. There's no links in there. The only link that would be in a cold email sequence is the contact's website URL. We don't put any. I'm not asking anybody in the cold email sequences to click on anything, right? Because that lowers the deliverability, right? We don't ever send a link to a contact until they have replied to our cold email. Now we have two-way communication with them, right? And we're basically getting their permission to send them a link before we ever send them a link. You understand? And so there's no reason to set up any kind of link tracking or use your own custom domain if you're not tracking link clicks within instantly. And we don't. If somebody clicks an unsubscribe link, I don't need to know that they clicked the unsubscribe link. All I need, if it does what it says, what it's supposed to do, it's going to remove them from the sequence and prevent them from receiving any additional emails. That's all that matters to me. I don't care that they clicked it. I just want them off the list. You know what I mean? Which is the link will do that. So sorry if that didn't answer your question. I'm hoping it did, but I don't remember ever setting up a custom link tracking domain or anything like that in instantly because there's no purpose for it. We just send text-based emails. If there's a link in there, it's to the contact's website. And there's no reason for me to track clicks to that either. Hopefully that's clear. Okay. All right. I think we're done. 5:03. We actually even went over
Hey, not
talking
bad.
about. Okay, it's in the mailbox settings. Okay, well then I hopefully answered your question. I don't use it. All right, guys, I'm wrapping it up. Thanks everybody.